But a morning or afternoon or evening, whichever time you're watching this, happy St. Patrick's Day. My 7th and 8th graders, hope you're having a wonderful second day on our prolonged distance learning program. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Yay. It is Tuesday, and it worked out. I'm going to be representing a different house each different time each day. So Tuesdays for me is going to be Is a Bindi Day. What's up, Tigers? Yeah, this unicorn can roll green. What's up? Anyway, I hope you got a lot out of lessons, saw a lot of good responses. Hopefully we won't get another guest appearance of my cat this time. We're going to continue our discussion on the Articles of Confederation. So let's do that. First thing we have to do is look at what exactly is the central government. It was mentioned in the previous lesson, but I just want to keep a refresher. That essentially the central government is the spoke on a wheel. It deals with large issues such as war and peace with other nations, defense, economic treaties with other countries, foreign affairs, bigger issues, interstate relations. And it sets forward policy that then sets the direction for the rest of the government to follow. If you are in 8th grade, this is a lot what we've talked about with the role of the president. As the delegator-in-chief, they set a policy, and then everyone else sets in the motion. Of course, our central government today is positioned out of Washington, D.C. That wasn't the case during the time period of the Articles of Confederation. It was first out of New York, then Philadelphia. Eventually, during Adams' time, we'll see our government will move to Washington, but it takes a little while. And the U.S. Constitution to make that happen. But I just thought that this picture illustrated, once again, the idea that the central government is like this spoke of a wheel. And when it moves, it sets everything else into motion. This bigger mass of the country, through delegation, through governors, through the state legislatures, and through Congress and many other different facets, executive and federal agencies, that central government keeps the country motioning and moving. Yay, illustrations. Let's talk about that first Constitution. Remember, I say small c Constitution, not a big C, because this Constitution is any Constitution is a framework or blueprint for a government, as we talked about in our last lesson. The first Constitution for the U.S. was the Articles of Confederation, and in many ways, it established that it wanted to keep control in the states and control in the local governments. People who just fought a revolution against the king, the parliament, and the British Empire naturally were pretty mistrustful of the strong central government. I mean, that's what they just had an 8-year revolt and war over. So they set forward a system of government that was weak enough that they could control it instead of it being strong enough that it would control them like the British did. First off, the United States as it was under the Articles isn't what it is today. The United States is a union of states. Our nation, think of the U.S. Army is not just the Army of Texas or New Jersey or Florida. It's the Army of the United States consisting of all the states. At this point, that isn't necessarily the case. A confederation means it's kind of like a loose alliance. The states pledge to work together, have each other's back, will help each other out, but they're still more or less on their own and free to govern themselves. They wanted very little interference from one another. Kind of like, we're on the same team, but we're not exactly family. And once again, they wanted to keep their local government in control of the main things. And essentially they wanted the states to control the national government. So to this end, the government that they created was very, very weak. Very weak. For example, one of the things if we look to a national government for is if we're under threat, foreign power wants to attack us. Well, we got to declare war. Now, that's something that Congress has the power to do today. The president has the power to execute that, but on the Articles of Confederation, the Confederation Congress could declare war, but the states could say, "Nah, we don't want to participate. Yeah, we're good. We're good on that. Sorry." Really hard to run a war as a nation if states can volunteer to opt out. It's just not a really great way to run. Secondly, national government. We want you to negotiate with foreign countries. You can make treaties. Okay. But under the Articles of Confederation, states didn't necessarily have to obey them. They had to voluntarily decide if they wanted to. So what power does a national government have to negotiate if the states within it don't necessarily have to follow what it's negotiating? Pretty much cut the knees out from the national government in that front. The states have the power to tax. Local governments have the power to tax. Congress doesn't. It can only ask states to volunteer tax money. There's a lot of emphasis on the articles that you should only have volunteer participation in war, taxation, anything from the national government. If you want to do it, that's okay. Well, hey, we'd like you to pay some taxes to keep our new government running. Yeah, I decide not to. And that's what we're going to see. A lot of people decide not to do, and we're going to see that pretty quickly the national government starts to go bankrupt, and the new nation starts to go bankrupt. So central government can't really regulate trade, can't print currency. Well, it can, but the state governments also can print their own currency. So you have New Jersey dollars, New York dollars, Virginia dollars, so on and so forth. And they're all competing against one another, all have a different value, which makes interstate commerce next to impossible. One of the biggest flaws is that there's no one really to enforce any laws, no one to settle disputes about the laws. The central government of the U.S. today has three parts, three branches. Eighth graders, you know all about that. There's a legislative branch that can make the laws. Well, Articles of Confederation made a Confederation Congress that could do that. All 13 states had an equal vote, and it could pass laws. But there's no executive branch. There's no one to enforce the laws. That's a problem. That's like, you have the speed limit posted, but nobody will ever get pulled over if they break the law. If they break the speed limit. Well, probably no one's going to obey the speed limit then. If there's disputes. For example, there's a lot of disputes about western boundaries. The national government claimed them all, but each of the states also claimed that they had claim over western territories. And we see tensions starting to build up between, for example, Pennsylvania and Virginia over the western border. And this is a difficulty if you don't have someone that can settle disputes about the law, settle disputes within the government, a judiciary. That's also going to be a problem. And we're going to see that, unfortunately, the Articles of Confederation in many ways is going to, fail. We'll talk in our next lesson a little bit more about failure and how the Articles fail and what situation it sets up and the lessons from failure. But that wraps up my lesson for today. My question for you today, for the end of the lesson to post on Google Classroom, is why did the founders in making the Articles of Confederation want to make such a weak central government? All right. I look forward to reading your answers and throwing out some extra points and seeing your answers to, or your questions and answers that you're posting up in relation to the article. Have a great Tuesday. Thanks for watching. And stay brave, everyone. Have visibility, courage. Rock and roll. Happy St. Patrick's Day.